Hi, my name is Derek Waddy. Welcome to today's tutorial on downward facing dog. I'm excited to share with you some tips on alignment, action, and adaptation principles that you can use to help create a sustainable downward facing dog in your yoga practice. Before we get into those tips, I want to go over a common mishap that I often see in yoga classes as it relates to downward facing dog. And that is creating a distinction between internal and external rotation of the shoulder. Typically, what we see in a yoga class in terms of internal rotation, if you take a look at my arm, is you'll see the bicep rotates towards the center line of the body. The tricep starts to flare away from the center line of the body, thus creating internal rotation through the humerus or the upper arm bone. Well, internal rotation of the shoulder, once we bring the arm above the head, as you can see, starts to create less space in the shoulder joint. What we actually want to create is the opposite. So, you want the bicep to rotate away from the center line of the body, the tricep to draw towards the center line of the body, thus creating external rotation of the shoulder and providing more range of movement and more space in the shoulder joint. Let's take a look at that in downward facing dog. Let's look at external rotation. The biceps move away from the center line of the mat or your body. Your triceps move towards the center line of the mat, thus creating more space through the shoulder joint and neck region. Now, let's take a look at some alignment, adaptation, and action principles that you can incorporate into your practice of downward facing dog. First, let's begin in a tabletop position. As I come to tabletop, I want to place my hands about shoulder width distance apart. If you have broader shoulders like myself, you can feel free to take your hands a little wider than shoulder width distance apart. In terms of alignment for your hands, point your index fingers straight ahead and then spread the rest of your fingers out equidistant from there. For the feet, alignment of your feet. Allow your feet to come to about hips width distance apart. And then the inner arch of your foot. You want to align the inner arch of your foot as well as the inner part of your heel directly behind the big toe ball mount of both feet. As you do that, you should start to feel a stretch through your hamstrings as well as the backs of your legs. Eyes. Set your eyes to the back of your mat. Allow them to find a point right between your big toes. Create a sense of softness and ease through your neck so that the cervical spine is nice and long. Action principles. Want to press through the triads of your hands, so your first 3 finger knuckles. And as you do that, you'll press down and forward. Your arms are active and strong. And as you press down and forward, you'll lengthen through the side body or the sides of your rib cage, as well as the scapula, creating more space through the shoulders and neck. As we talked about before, externally rotate your upper arm bones. For your legs, pull your inner thighs back and create a slight internal rotation of the thighs. Stretch the center of your heels towards the mat. Don't worry, they don't have to touch. Just want to draw them towards the mat to maximize the stretch through the Achilles, the hamstrings, and the calves. Engage your upper and lower abdominals. Adaptation. Common adaptation you can utilize in down dog is just very simply to bend your knees. This will help alleviate tension in the backs of your legs and perhaps even the low back. Adaptation number 2, come to a tabletop position. Align your shoulders over top of your elbows and elbows over top of your wrists. Line your knees underneath of your hips. You can utilize tabletop as well as downward facing dog interchangeably in your yoga practice as you build up your strength in down dog so that you can do it for longer periods of time. Okay, let's put that into action. Come to downward facing dog, or if you're going to adapt, bend your knees or take your tabletop. Press down through the triads of your hands, your first 3 finger knuckles, and drive the mat forward. Strong and active through your arms. Engage your upper and lower abdominals. Align your feet at about hips width distance apart and stretch the center of your heels down to your mat. Set your eyes in between your big toes and take 3 deep breaths in and out through your nose. Biceps start to move away. Triceps move towards the center line. You're creating external rotation in the shoulder and a little more space across your neck region. This completes today's tutorial of downward facing dog. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you were able to get some alignment, action, and adaptation principles that you can add into your practice. All right, it's your turn. Go put it into action.